All right, we're back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce, as usual. Today is Thursday. What is today? Today is May 73rd. Anyway, uh, welcome back to Song of the Day. Yesterday was Wednesday, where I do my feature of songs that maybe you haven't heard. Hopefully you checked that out and gave a listen to Knots and Crosses. If you haven't done that yet, check it out. I put together a second song by them that is nowhere to be available on the internet, and now it is. I put it up there. So anyway, something did happen yesterday. There was a birthday yesterday, so we're going to talk about that guy today. Mr. Bob Seger just turned 75 yesterday. And I'm pretty excited about talking about Bob Seger. A lot of you out there are fans, and I know at least one in particular person out there that's a really huge fan. But he's part of that 30 club, which is off the top of my head, I would have to guess that there's probably at least 30 Bob Seger songs that I like. And there aren't a lot of bands that you can say that you truly like 30 of their songs. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I think the first one I realized was In Excess, which we'll talk about another time, but I think I counted 33 of their songs that I liked. Anyway, Bob Seger, for those of you who don't know, I don't know how you don't know, but from Detroit, Michigan, was basically a journeyman around that area. His first album came out in the late 60s. He actually put out 7 albums between 60, I guess like early mid 60s till 73. All of those are out of print, but he basically got a huge following in the Detroit area as just a really hard working guy, singer, doing a lot of like MC5 rock and roll kind of stuff. He changed a lot of band members. He actually was in a lot of different band names. That was always being shuffled. The band members were being shuffled. By the time it came to 60, like late 60s, so 68 or so, he was called the Bob Seger System, and that was his first, with them, that was his first hit. Ramblin' Gamblin' Man was his first hit, and interestingly enough, that was the first studio work for Glenn Frey of the Eagles later on. He played guitar and sang backup on that song. And those guys were from that area. They remained friends for a long time. They would collaborate and do a lot of early stuff together and kind of throw things back and forth at each other, and that was pretty cool. So he finally settles on just Bob Seger, and then he kind of throws together this Silver Bullet band. And those were made up of kind of various friends of his and everything. And they put out the album Beautiful Loser, which actually didn't really go very far, but I have to back up a second, because before Beautiful Loser, you forget that the song Turn the Page was actually released in 72 and didn't go anywhere. It didn't chart, nothing. So the studio version of that song, nothing. And we'll talk about that song in a minute. So they put out Beautiful Loser. That kind of changes gears for him. That's more ballads and stuff like that, and that kind of shapes his way for the rest of his career. And then so that Beautiful Loser just turned 45 last month, and then the next year they put out Live Bullet, which was the tour that supported that album's release. And this live double record was recorded in Detroit area, and it didn't even do that well, but now is considered probably the greatest live album of all time. And that is where we hear the song that we all come to love when we hear Turn the Page. The live version of that is the only version that you can listen to. Everyone knows it. And that's what kind of kick-started that song into classic rock radio. I mean, you can't play that studio version. We heard the studio version just the other day, Sara and I did, and it was terrible. It was awful. I mean, how can you not have that part, where they're whistling and everything, and the guy says, "Party!" But that song, amazing. I don't remember hearing that song, because that came out, the Live Bullet came out in 76 or so. I wasn't listening to classic rock in the late 70s. I was still listening to American Top 40 and using my tape recorder up against another radio to try to tape 4 hours of hits and listen to the cassettes later with Casey Kasem. So, and then I got MTV in '82 and went right to like new wave. So I didn't hear a lot of classic rock until I moved to Connecticut, and nobody had cable and nobody had MTV, and everyone was listening to WAQY Rock Block Weekend, and that's when I got introduced to Bob Seger, probably, unless some of his hits on American Top 40. So that's where he jump starts. Live Bullet kind of kicks things off for him. He would start to really piss his band members off, because what he started doing was he would tour with his band members, but he was using the Muscle Shoals session band members, which I understand there's a documentary out there I have to see. He would use them for all the studio work and rarely use the guys that he toured with. So there was a little bit of issue there. As far as songs go, that was Ramblin' Gamblin' Man, like I said. He would have, from like 1976 to 1987, he sold like 75 million records. That's when we just know all of his stuff. The live album, Live Bullet, we just talk about that for another second. Probably the second live album that I ever liked, the first being Talking Heads. But I wasn't really a live album fan. But when you listen to that album, the whole album is great. But when you hear that Traveling Man go into Beautiful Loser, I mean, that's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. If you haven't heard that, do that today. Pull it up and give it a listen, because that's just pure magic. All right, let's go by the numbers. Let's see if we can you name like all the Bob Seger songs that you like? This took a little bit of practice, right? Took a little bit of thinking about. You got Ramblin' Gamblin' Man, Trying to Live My Life Without You, Beautiful Loser, Kathmandu, Nightbush Shitty Limits, that was a Tina Turner song, Rock and Roll Never Forgets, Night Moves, The Fire Down Below, which that was not a single, and that's a great song, Main Street, Come to Papa, Sunspot Baby, Hollywood Nights. Now, Hollywood Nights, also a favorite song of mine. I don't know why I like that song so much. I know it gets radio play, but I just think that's a great song. That's a great song. Still the Same. We're going to skip over the one I'm thinking of next. Feel Like a Number. We've Got Tonight, The Horizontal Bob, You'll Accompany Me, Her Strut. Love Her Strut. That's a great song. That's a great song. Against the Wind, Fire Lake. Love Fire Lake. Like a Rock, Even Now, Shame on the Moon, Roll Me Away. What else we got? Shakedown. Remember Shakedown from Beverly Hills Cop? He even managed to pull that off. So what haven't I mentioned? I didn't mention Old Time Rock and Roll. I really don't care if I never hear that song again the rest of my life. I got to be honest. I mean, brilliant scene in the movie Risky Business. We all know that. But it's just overplayed. And I actually checked this out, and basically it is the second most played jukebox song in the history of the world. Like you'll go to some dive in Bangladesh and someone will be playing that song. I guarantee it. That begs the question, what is the most played jukebox song in history? And for that, just so you know, it's Crazy by Patsy Cline, which I approve. So anyway, I don't need to hear that song again. I really don't. So let's talk about Turn the Page. Really just brilliant song. I mean, I'm never going to get tired of that song. Everyone belts that song out when they hear it. It's a great song. We all grew up on it. I mean, how can you not sing it when it comes on? Who turns the channel when that comes on? Nobody. I mean, I don't like you if you do. But that is the song that is just massively huge and great. So that's the song of the day. We're going to do Turn the Page. I mean, how can I do anything else? There's no way I can do anything else. One other thing that I did learn, two little factoids that I learned. One, when he was struggling and that live album came out, he played in front of 80,000 fans in Detroit one night, and then the next night he played in front of 1,000 fans in Chicago. So that was like pretty sobering for him. And I also learned that he co-wrote Heartache Tonight from the Eagles. So here we go, you guys. I know it's not even nighttime, but we're gonna do something different here. Hold on, wait a second. All right, that's a little bit more like it. This is more like a smoky room here, right? So I know it's the morning. You're gonna do turn the page. You're gonna play this while you're getting ready in your car. Somewhere along the way, you're gonna play this today. You're gonna turn it up, and you're gonna belt that song out like you have never sung it before. Because what else are you gonna do in a pandemic? That's your song of the day. Enjoy. We'll see you on the flip side.